harboring illegals in blue states, Canada riots while Trudeau parties, and anti-Trump resistance is losing its steam. This is The Loaded Mic, and I'm Dan Watt. There are actually people who don't want illegal immigrants deported. After learning how much they cost us as American taxpayers, after watching them kill innocent people like Laken Riley, after knowing that many of them smuggle deadly drugs into our country, and after learning that many of them are so bad, other countries don't want them. But our liberals, they want them here. So here's an idea for every liberal, left-winger, wokester, and illegal migrant sympathizer who's not in favor of deportation. Let's make it mandatory that they participate in a migrant sponsorship program where they're legally and financially responsible for an illegal immigrant or a family of immigrants. Now, the sponsor would be required to provide housing, clothing, food, and transportation for a migrant or migrant family, and they'd have to answer to and be responsible for any crimes the migrant under their supervision commit. See, the problem with these hypocrite Democrats is that they want to pretend they care about people and they want to pretend that they're morally superior to everyone else. But when it comes down to it, they want zero responsibility. They don't care if people are getting killed by migrants or women are getting raped as long as it's not happening to them. So maybe we should make a list of all the illegal alien sympathizers, let them sign up on the list, and consider them accomplices to the migrant crisis. And make them take in a family or two into their own homes and support them with their own money. You want to see how quickly they support building a wall? Well, we're going to talk about this and many other things with, he's so smart, I can see his IQ from my backyard, John Chiara.
Thanks, Dan.
And he's not political, but he does enjoy a nice glass of liberal tears with dinner. Anthony Diso.
Yes, I'm right here. Liberal tears.
Liberal tears.
I think that's yellow dye number 6.
Let's everybody
in
drink
there.
a little bit of liberal tears. It goes down smooth, doesn't it,
does.
after Trump won?
Nice and cold. Just like their heart was.
Liberal tears go down nice after a good Trump win.
Yep.
Well, yeah, we're happy about the win here at the Loaded Mic, and but we're still not happy about the status of the border. So, what are you guys' thoughts on this? What do you think? Should we have some sort of plan? John's.
Well, I don't know. Did you see our lovely Albany, New York mayor, Kathy Sheehan, yesterday or whatever it was,
Is that Anthony's girl?
on the news?
What's that dirtbag doing?
He grew up there. That's his girl.
Talking about how we're a sanctuary city and we're here to make sure that everybody all of our residents feel comfortable and this and that. And all the comments are like,
They're tearing her
What are you,
apart
out
because
of
they
your
don't
mind?
want them there.
Well, later on, I'm going to talk about another plan for how to do the deportation, and it kind of goes into that. But Yeah.
that's all. But we have it locally. I mean, and people, that's why it cracks me up when people don't see that it's happening. Like people in their own communities don't know that there's hotels full of illegals that have nowhere to go. You know, they're all part of government contracts. Some of them are going to be running out at the end of the year, so then they have to re-up the contract. That's all tax dollars paying for all this stuff, and it's just insanity. I mean, I don't know how you can just ignore it and not make that part of some kind of policy that makes sense.
Well, that's a good question. How do they ignore the reality of it and support such a thing? They have to have something going on in their heads where they can justify it, right?
Or nothing going on in their heads so they can justify
I
it.
don't think they're that brain dead. They can't be that brain dead. I mean, they do function. These people function in society. They can't be that brain
I'm
dead.
talking about the leaders that are spouting this.
You know, I guess okay. So let's compartmentalize here. Are we talking about the leaders, or are we going to talk about the people who support it?
It's so hard to separate it now. Again, we do a lot of our evaluations based on our own social media experiences, and I have people that are just, they don't care what these people say. They talk about us being in a cult, and whatever their leaders tell them, they just believe it, and there's no problem. Oh, if Obama or if Biden or Kamala,
Where did she
who we've
go?
seen nothing of in weeks, right?
Gone.
I haven't seen anything.
You're not going to hear a peep out of her again ever.
Except when they're talking about, sending Russia missiles to Ukraine
Well,
so
she's
they
such-
can shoot them in Russia.
Such a loser when it comes to running for president. And I mean, she was such a loser. The only way she got any recognition is that they planted her there and they supported her and boosted her up.
Right? And their minions were already ready to accept whatever because they didn't want Trump. So, but
Right.
but it was a losing plan if you looked at all the parts of it. This is bad, that's bad, that's bad, and yet they still thought they were going to win. Then when they lost, they're all like, "You people are all stupid," and I'm like, "Good plan you got
The
there."
media lied to them the whole time. We were saying it.
Yeah.
I already said the polls, she was so far up. No, she wasn't. She was never, ever in the lead, ever. And they believed everything the liberal media told them.
So, just the question is it a myth that Elon Musk is buying MSNBC?
I think that might, at this point, might just be gossip.
That's what I think.
But would be kind of cool. Have him.
Hire Rachel Maddow. And
She
make
was
her say
crying on the air because of it.
She's
He
so
sent a
pathetic.
meme or something.
They're so pathetic, aren't they? I mean, they're all just really pathetic people. Jon Stewart, all them liberal douches on TV.
Well, they got
What are you crying for?
so caught up. They let. First of all, it takes a very emotionally reactive person to gravitate toward that ideology. I think because critical thinkers are like, this is kind of messed up. I don't really want anything to do with it. So all of a sudden, it's the emotional people who gravitate there, and then they feed them with all the propaganda, pump them up with propaganda day after day after day, and create the beliefs and the belief structure in the mind. Now, all these things are true according to them. They believe it's true. They believe that that killing a baby in the womb is a woman's right to health care. They believe it. They believe that more guns will equal more crime. They believe that stuff. It's not true. We know it's not true. They believe that an open border is the kind thing to do. And
Again, like you said, let them in your house. Then I'll talk to you.
they won't do it. They'll never do it. So you get this. You get the mental conditioning, and then you get the punishment from their own if they stray, right?
Right.
So they start going off the plantation,
reservation.
right?
No, absolutely.
Like Mayor Adams, he's learning real quick what happens
Yeah.
when,
Big time.
when you turn on the dirtbags.
So it's the brainwashing, and then it's leverage, but then there's also reward too. You're part of the group if you believe. If you believe this and you support this, you're part. We welcome you and all this stuff. So they get weak-minded people from all angles, and anybody can fall for this stuff. But it seems that the conservative folks tend to not need that gratification or whatever, and they tend to want to go over here and think on our own, because that's why it's so difficult when you're trying to get conservatives together to agree on something, because it's like herding cats. Conservatives have their own mind, they have their own way of thinking, and they anyway, go
They're
ahead.
not looking for you to tell them what to do from the top,
Exactly.
top down. That's why when people say, "Oh, you'll follow Trump anywhere," I go, "He's just doing what we want him to do.
Yeah.
That's why we like him. We don't like him because we need him to tell us what to do. We already know what we want to do. We already have our values. We don't need somebody to establish our values for us from some, central
Liberals
planning."
Liberals have no values.
That's a great.
They really
Yeah.
don't.
I don't think they do. And
They're
if they
still running with it.
and if they do, I think you can manipulate their values
Right.
pretty easily.
They fluctuate. They're relative. It's all relativism. Whatever the thing of the day is, they're going with the consensus, right? Like you said, they want to be part of the group. So the worst thing is to disagree with the group, because then, oh my God. But I see people. It's if you could put it all on a whiteboard, there's so many people that talk from the left perspective that if you just wrote this stuff out, you can see all the contradictions in what they're saying and how all the intentions over here that they were so convinced of with Biden and Kamala, when you go and look at the outcomes, it's trash. Nothing ever works out. Nothing ever does what they say it's going to. And you're still paying and paying and paying and paying.
Well, look how easily manipulated they were with the virus.
Right.
They would do whatever their state or federal government told them. Up 6 feet apart. We don't really know why, but just do it. Okay. And they would yell at other people for not falling in line and following those orders.
It's like the first step is moral superiority. Well, we're
Yeah.
right, therefore you have to do what we
Yeah.
do. And on top of that, what do? They censor the people that might have a question about it.
Yep.
I mean, how many, again, and I know a bunch of people I found out recently who never listen to podcasts or anything. They just watch TV. And they don't, somebody I know pretty well said 2 weeks ago, never heard of Joe Rogan. Really?
How?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How do you not know who Joe Rogan
So I
is?
gave a whole list of different podcasts, and I haven't heard one word since then. Just go watch and get informed about another perspective, at least. That's pretty sad.
Well, and it was kind of funny when during the pandemic, if you want to call it that, is that you'd watch these people just like robots falling in line. The three of us would go out to eat, and or wherever we'd go, and we'd see people just doing their thing.
They're still doing it today. I saw a girl at Center Street with a blue mask on. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, if somebody's got some kind of condition or something,
But if
or
you're
their
sick,
doctor
stay
tells
home.
them to wear a mask, I get it.
I used to, before the pandemic, I used to see if I saw somebody with a mask, I thought, oh, they're sick and they need to, to
Right.
not let their germs release or whatever, and they're protect whatever. But now it's like you don't know. You don't know if they're actually sick or if they're just a left-wing lunatic. You don't know.
You see couples shopping in Walmart with their masks on and stuff. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, when it's
I don't care, but they're not coming to me and saying, you should be wearing a mask.
we were telling them the whole time, don't do the vaccine. Please don't do the shot because it's not been tested. It's not, whatever. It's not long-term tested. The pharmaceutical companies don't have any liability. Don't do it. You don't, oh no, you're an anti-vax, you're an anti-vaxxer and all this stuff.
They're still advertising. Walgreens is still advertising. Come in and get your flu shot and your COVID vaccine for little kids. Like, what are you, out of your mind?
And
They're
then
doing it though.
But then we see the heart problems, and we see the blood disorders, and we see the brain, and we see the strokes, and we see all the stuff coming out because of it. And
I posted a thing the other day about how, for like 30, 40 years, 1,500 athletes died from heart disease. And then in 3 years, 1,500 more died, all after the vaccine started. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the cause, but these are the kind of things, again, if you're programmed so that you can't ask questions about things or entertain other people who are asking questions about that, that's not what a free country is supposed to be about. That's not how we're put together.
no, well, thank God that Trump's back because we're going to turn things around. We're going
People are all afraid. People calling Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy incompetent, all these incompetent billionaire guys. I'm like, really?
And
Did you see that rocket come down? That's incompetent, really? It's like, okay.
He's going to be the first trillionaire, but you're making $500 a week. Who's the dummy here? Bring him.
All right, let's get to one of our sponsors real quick. This device, the Cali Key, removes your AR from the definition of an assault weapon. When they create these so-called assault weapon ban lists, they're created exclusively to eliminate manually operated bolt-action firearms. So just by dropping the Cali Key into your direct impingement AR in place of your semi-automatic BCG, you'll have a bolt-action rifle that falls outside the definition of assault weapon, so you don't have to do anything else. So give the Cali Key a look because with it, you could retain all your rifle's features, avoid registration complications, revive your black rifle sales if you're an FFL, regain the ability to do private party transfers, legally transport across hostile jurisdictions, hunt with your AR in areas like Pennsylvania, enhance long-range precision and quieter suppress shooting. So, and Cali Key also has state-specific expert attorney opinions on its website and supports grassroots Second Amendment organizations with its sales. So Cali Key's mission, to empower customers and claw back our civil liberties. So go to CaliKey.com, use the discount code LOADED. CaliKey.com, discount code LOADED. All right. So we do have a lot of stuff to talk about, but I just wanted to, we were talking earlier about Albany, New York's new revenue system. New way of, and now Anthony, you grew up in Albany,
Yeah.
and your girl Kathy Sheehan is got a new plan here.
Yep.
What are they doing?
Speeding ticket cameras in the school zones.
Okay.
John was just saying, he's talking about Albany High, how when they open up the doors, it looks like a zoo. It's like a zoo coming out.
Let
They just run out in the middle of the road, 4-lane road. They're just running all over the place, and their skateboards and bikes out. Don't care if the cars are going by. But yeah, people have been getting hundreds of tickets from these cameras.
And so the ticket just shows up at your house?
Yep, and you can't fight it.
Cool.
There's no fighting. There's no points, but you get a $100 fine no matter what.
This is a Democrat-run state.
This is where we're at. Even if you're not driving the car, say John borrows my car and gets a ticket,
Whoever,
I get the ticket.
right? Whoever the car is
Registered
registered,
owner.
because they don't know. They just
They
go
don't
by
know.
the license plate. Yeah. What a bunch of dirt bags.
Bunch of dirt.
Well, speaking of New York Democrats,
Oh boy.
New York. This is an article by the New York Post. A New York City rep, Richie Torres, torches complicit Adams, Mayor Eric Adams from New York City, and Hochul, Kathy Hochul, admins after a serial stabber who killed 3 people slips through the cracks. Enraged Bronx Representative Richie Torres slammed the administration of Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul as complicit in the murders of 3 innocent people by serial stabber Ramon Rivera. Torres said Rivera should never have been on the streets, but authorities failed and let him fall through the cracks. Those directly responsible should be fired, he demanded. He says, I'm writing to express alarm at the complicity of the state and the city in the murder of 3 New Yorkers who were savagely stabbed to death in a homicidal rampage that took hold in broad daylight, the Bronx Democrat said in a scathing letter to both the mayor and governor obtained by the New York Post. So it says here Torres, a moderate, has often gone against the liberal wing of his party with pro-public safety stances, support of Israel and Jewish residents in New York City. He criticizes the Gaza war among left-leaning party members and rising anti-Semitism in the 5 boroughs. Apparently, the madman allegedly stabbed to death construction worker Angel Gustavo Latalandi, 36, in Chelsea early November 18th, killing a fisherman named Chang Wang. That's a name for you, Chang Wang. He killed him too, 67 years old, near the East River, and other people too. So, this is what you get, I guess. When
Where was the guy from? The stabber? Was he released from jail or something? Or
Probably a career criminal that
slipped through the cracks.
bail
What was
reform.
he?
when they say slip through the cracks, I wonder what they're talking about. Are they talking about releasing him from prison?
Probably.
Because that's one of the cracks that Hochul's famous or infamous for.
Yep.
Letting criminals out of jail. But let's see here. Been on the streets. Authorities failed and let him fall through the cracks, whatever that means. The bureaucrats in DOC who authorized the early release. So here it is. It's an early release of Ramon. He says they should be fired. So it was an early release
So 3 people got killed.
because the Democrats want to let the bad guys out of jail. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Would you ever imagine, like 20, 30 years ago, did you ever imagine letting bad guys out of jail for some political reason? They would have been ridiculed, these politicians. Now it's like normal.
Yeah.
I think I wish I copied this. I just saw yesterday an ad for I think an ex-police chief or something that's running for Congress or something, and he's in favor of bail reform, and he was justifying it in his ad, saying it's not because these people are being released from jail. And I'm like, well, if the guy was in jail and then he was released and then he committed a crime, then pretty much being released from jail is the determining factor there.
These people are mentally ill.
Yeah, it's just crazy that they're still doing it, knowing that there's so many problems with criminals and and people getting killed. I mean, look at what's happening, and they still do it. So they must be getting paid off or something. I wonder why. Like Letitia James, our New York Attorney General, like, what is she? How is she benefiting, and her and Hochul, by letting these people out of jail?
Maybe Black Lives Matter are funneling money to him under the
There's
table
got to
or
be a benefit, or you wouldn't do it,
something.
right?
Got to be a benefit.
It's unbelievable.
Somebody's paying them.
They're probably getting paid. I always thought that, these people were promised a whole lot of money after they leave office. They just got to do this certain agenda. They got to accomplish a certain number of agenda items while they're in office.
Yeah.
And once they do that, then they leave office and they get millions of dollars for their future generations, for their families and stuff like that. That's the only thing I can imagine why someone would do it, because you're ruining your own state, you're ruining the country, and you're gonna drive off into the sunset.
People are dying. What the heck? I thought if you only saved one life, that's what mattered.
But people still vote for these dummies because they have that mentality. Oh, it won't happen to me.
It's unbelievable.
Things might change after January 20th.
But I do want to get to one of our sponsors here. LifeWave is a non-transdermal patch that allows your body to produce its own natural pharmacy through light energy. Now, the X39 patch tells your body to emit heat in the form of light, which reflects back into your body, elevating a certain copper peptide. Now, this peptide activates your stem cells, which are the only type that can move throughout your body to heal inflammation. LifeWave offers an affordable membership and has a history of wellness that spans 20 years. It's been around since 2004 to help organizations like SEAL Team 6 and the Olympic swim team stay awake and alert. Now, today, these non-addictive patches are used by thousands of athletes and military professionals. LifeWave is available in over 80 countries, giving millions the opportunity of maximum wellness. So for more information, testimonials, patents, and studies, go to justpatch.biz. Justpatch.biz. All right. I think, before we run out of time, I think it's time for a Woke Patrol.
Woke Patrol.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to scare anybody.
So Woke Patrol, or woke rather, has infiltrated the minds of some people to the point that they don't even see the hypocrisy in what they say or the policies that they support. First, there's a woman protesting against the right to life and teaching her daughter just how much of a disappointment she really is. Did you see this one? Let's see that photo.
I want my daughter to have the right to abortion that I didn't have. Wow.
What's that kid gonna think when she goes back? She realizes, wait a minute, if my mom was able to have an abortion, I wouldn't be here.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Great job, Mom.
Oh, first of all, how old is that little girl?
Can we go back?
Her mom could have had an abortion.
Can we get that other one? Yeah,
4 or 5 years ago, she couldn't have an abortion? Where? People are smoking crack.
These people are
You can
nuts.
say anything if it fits the agenda, right? It doesn't matter how stupid and crazy it is.
Well, this is a 2-part Woke Patrol, by the way, because I got another one here.
Oh.
So President Trump wants to eliminate the Federal Department of Education because it's a complete failure and has become overrun by teachers, administrators, and unions who care more about their vacation time than the education of our children. The only time they do show interest is when they're trying to twist the little minds of our children into believing that they can be any gender they choose while making them into little communist activists for the Democrat Party. The irony is, when the brainwashed left is convinced that the Department of Education must remain while also recognizing it's a failed department, but they hate Trump, so they can never see their own hypocrisy. Check this out. So the heading here is when you're trying to save the Department of Education but accidentally make the best case for eliminating. So what she's saying here in this X post, she says, oh, by the way, middle schoolers can't read. High schoolers can't write a proper essay. College students can't differentiate a scholarly based article versus propaganda, and adults can't tell when a picture is AI. But sure, get rid of the Department of Education. LOL.
Wow, you just so you basically just summed up why they're getting rid of it. You dummy. Did she proofread that?
I don't think she ever. Okay, so this is the mental gymnastics, right? What do we call it? Contradiction of, what do we call that?
I mean, if you were friends with her, wouldn't you say, "Can you read that again?"
Well, you've got two beliefs that contradict each other, and you can't. Cognitive dissonance, right? Thanks, Danny. Cognitive dissonance. So you got one belief that says the schools are failing You got the other belief that says, well, Democrats want the Department of Education, so I must support it.
It's amazing, right? But you don't know how many. I just had a discussion with a person who's the head of a physics department in a local big university. And I put up a thing about how the universities and schools are, failing our children because they're just brainwashing them into certain political agendas and not teaching them what they should.
Right.
And he was going off. He goes, well, I don't see this and I don't see that. I says, you're in the physics department. There's not a lot of moral judgment going on in physics.
Right.
But if you go into these other disciplines and stuff, I said, and the simple question is, do the children know the political opinions of their teachers? If they do, then the whole system is corrupt.
Because they shouldn't.
Shouldn't know.
they
Why do they have to know? I never knew any of that. Well, I can't. That's not true. Maybe not 100%, but
So when he dissolves the educational department, what's he going to do? Just give it to the states? Or
yes.
so?
Yeah.
So basically, Democrat states are going to be full of dumb, woke, moron kids.
Yeah.
Basically.
You're going to be able to tell the difference between the blue states
Educated
and
kids
yeah, exactly.
and the stupid kids.
So there's this next article. Before we go to break, I want to get to one more thing. This is an article from Breitbart, and I think we have a photo. Anti-Trump resistance movement facing post-election disillusionment with activism. Do we have that photo? I think. Yeah, there is. Leftists who were part of the so-called resistance movement against President-elect Donald Trump in 2016 are now facing a disillusionment with activism after the Republican won again this November. Political scientists and organizers have realized the resistance goes quiet. Axios aim to explain why the left wing has not erupted into widespread protests like what occurred when Trump beat former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton 8 years ago. They're saying that this political science professor, Lisa Muller, is saying that she's disappointed and shocked, or voters are more disappointed than shocked. So that might have something to do with their activism. She says, so they didn't have the same acute trigger to rush to the barricades that they did the first time, Muller, who studies social movements, said. She also said it's very likely that there's some disillusionment with activism. So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Disillusionment with activism. You think they're not so interested in going out and rioting and burning the cities down?
Well, the whole premise falls apart because basically we're not racist.
Yeah.
No.
They assume that as, well, everybody over here is a racist, therefore all this other stuff makes sense. Then the election happens and they're all like, oh, how can that possibly be? Yeah. It's a basic misunderstanding and brainwashing like all these other topics we've been talking about. But
yeah, they were convinced of certain things, and then they realized that the majority of the country wasn't with them. Now, think about that for a minute. You're convinced of all this stuff. Right. All these Republicans are bad, and they're racist and Nazis, and Trump is a Nazi, and all this crazy stuff, and they literally believe it. And then election night, they have to go, uh-oh, I'm in the minority now. The majority of the country voted against me.
well, and their first thought is the majority of the country are racist, rapists, homophobes, transphobes. They're all these horrible things. How did they possibly win? So again, the premise trumps the actual logic that might take place down the line. And that's what we have to overcome. The same kind of thing. You have to overcome the programming. It's like teaching Palestinian kids to not hate Jews after they've been programmed for generations.
Generations, yeah.
That's true. It's going to take 20 years to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We're going to be left to deal with these radical leftists who can't come out of their whatever you want to call it, their
And
delusion.
the fake racism in the world.
What's that?
And the fake racism.
The fake racism too. Yeah.
The election just proved that people don't believe the racism is as crazy as the Democrats want you to believe it is.
Right.
When you have record Puerto Ricans, blacks, and Hispanics, and Chinese, everybody voting for Trump.
Yep.
They all saw the holes in the whole thing.
All right. Right after this quick break, we're going to come back with more sanctuary city nonsense coming from the left wing. I'll be right back.
The Cali Key removes your AR from the definition of an assault weapon. It lets you keep your rifle with all its features,
avoid registration hassles, and transport in hostile jurisdictions. The Cali Key also lets you hunt in jurisdictions like Pennsylvania and enhances long-range precision shooting. Cali Key's expert legal opinions empower informed decisions, and sales help grassroots Second Amendment organizations. Cali Key is your tool to keep and equip your AR, empower yourself, and defend your civil rights.
Our founding fathers saw them coming over 200 years away. That's why they wrote the Second Amendment. Join us in the fight to preserve your gun rights and stop unconstitutional gun control. Gun Owners of America is the country's only no-compromise gun rights organization. Not only do we inform and educate, but we bring the fight to court and win. Your God-given right to keep and bear arms is our top priority. Become a member today and help us take back America. Join us at gunowners.org. As for the Democrat governors and mayors who are insistent on keeping their cities or their states sanctuaries for illegals, why don't we use that to our advantage? Okay, so here's the idea. You leave, and I want to see what you guys think about this. You leave Los Angeles and New York City, West Coast and East Coast. You leave them sanctuary cities. You clean up the rest with full force, the rest of the country. With mass deportations over the next year or so. And you tell the country that at the request of these Democrats, we've decided to leave these two cities, LA and NYC, sanctuary. So you let two Democrat mayors take the fall. Do you want to see all the other Democrat mayors flee the sinking sanctuary ship like rats? You want to see how fast mass migration to two concentrated locations will happen? See, illegals will flow to those two cities faster than Hillary Clinton can smash a BlackBerry. Crime will rise exponentially in those two cities, and people will be at their wits' end. And they'll blame the Democrats in charge. Democrats will get voted out next cycle, and now you've got all the illegals in two concentrated locations. You go in for the final cleanup. You let the Democrats' dangerous policies work against them. Give them what they want and let their voters decide. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Rally all of them.
I'm down.
So they all now. There's all these cities now who want to be sanctuaries,
Oh,
right?
Boston, yeah.
Boston
that mayor,
and
the
everywhere.
Governor, whatever the hell she is. She
So
wants-
Trump and Homan, is that his name? Tom Homan? Trump and Homan, they say, okay, look, we're going to designate two. We're going to try this little experiment.
Test it small.
Test it small. Take New York City on the left, on the East Coast, and LA on the West Coast, and those will be sanctuary. We won't go in there. We'll let you guys do whatever the hell you want. In the meantime, though, we're going to clean up the rest of the country and start deporting. So what's going to happen? We're going to be able to start cleaning up, but don't you think that a lot of those migrants will gravitate toward those two cities?
You think?
Yep. And then it'll bankrupt the city, and the residents are going to get tired of seeing the crime, the filth, the garbage that these dirtbags are going to bring, and then they're going to uprise. And it's a great idea. I would love to get rid of Hochul.
And then after all is said and done, they're all in two cities and they're easy to go in and get.
Yep.
Escape from New York.
Escape from L.A.
There's got to be a lot of policies too. You know, I know sometimes people, construction companies and stuff like that, they like the cheap labor, but there's got to be penalties for.
Well, they gotta. If they start with the.
Well, you're harboring illegal people, right? Number one, there's your crime right there. So I mean, I'm not a big for all these regulations on businesses. I want less regulations on businesses. But if you're hiring a bunch of illegals, you're perpetuating the whole problem, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
All I'm saying is if they start with the people that we know are either criminals or have no reason being here first, and prove that we can ship them out, that's going to be a hard thing to do anyway. It's not going to be a simple process. But maybe that'll put the fear of God in some of these people, and they'll stop, because we need workers. So there has to be a program that makes sense to import people to work. But people used to come and work.
Nobody wants to work
and then
now.
they would go back. After,
Right,
mostly
right.
Farm workers and stuff. They didn't live here. They didn't move here and collect benefits for ever and ever. So there needs to be some kind of program. Hopefully Trump's team can come up with something that makes sense.
Well, there's this article here in News Nation The headline is Sanctuary Cities Plan to Resist Trump's Mass Deportation Plans. They say Los Angeles is the latest to become a sanctuary city. New York has spent more than $5 billion on housing
$5 billion.
and caring for migrants. Tom Homan has threatened to withhold federal funding from sanctuary cities, which I hope he does. So News Nation says ahead of Donald Trump's presidency, leaders in sanctuary cities insist they will not aid in mass deportation plans. States like Colorado, Illinois, New York, where hundreds of thousands of migrants have been bussed from southern border by GOP Texas Governor Greg Abbott. I got to admit, that was really funny. He's not really helping the problem. He's just spreading it around, but I thought it was hysterical.
He
that
doesn't
they're
want him in his state. So, you know.
Officials have doubled down on their promise to protect newcomers. These are newcomers.
Oh, now they got new words. See, there's that bull crap. They come up with these newcomers.
You know what that's from? Alien Nation. The
Oh, really?
newcomers, people from another planet that came there, and they all.
So some
But at least
idiot.
they all got jobs and worked, and were taking care
So
of
some
themselves.
idiot in the Democrat Party watched that show
Exactly.
and stole the term.
Yeah.
Exactly.
New.
Well, I know we've got a clip here about this. Can we play that clip? Okay, maybe you got it. Okay.
So right now, several cities across America are promising to push back and defy President-elect Trump's plans for mass deportations. It's one of his biggest campaign promises. Well, Denver's Democratic Mayor Mike Johnston predicting a Tiananmen Square type situation with residents rising up against the federal government. That movement was a series of large political protests in China back in 1989. So what does this mean for the president-elect's plans at the local level? News Nation's Xavier Walton joins me now. Xavier, how can these sanctuary cities refuse to cooperate with this new incoming administration?
Hey, Marky, good morning. Essentially, what these city leaders are saying is that the White House and President-elect Donald Trump, when he gets to the White House, will not have authority to do so with some of their local National Guards. We're going to get to that in just a second. But we're going to get back to what you just talked about. Really bold words coming from the mayor of Denver. And if he holds true, keeps his words when President-elect Donald Trump takes office, we could be heading for a collision course. So we're talking about Mayor Mike Johnston, a Democrat, says city police won't be assisting in mass deportation efforts, and residents in Denver support his decision. Johnston, like you just mentioned, even comparing that potential for public resistance to the upcoming federal immigration operation to the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests in China. We all know how that ended. It certainly got our attention, a bold comparison. Meantime, other sanctuary cities like Los Angeles, Chicago are bracing for mass deportation efforts as well under the new administration. In LA, Mayor Karen Bass saying, you know what, this moment demands urgency after city council there reaffirmed its sanctuary city status. The governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat, saying earlier this week he is deeply concerned and questioned whether the president of the United States even has the authority.
All right, so let me make one point before we comment on this. Let me separate the propaganda. I think what I'm hearing in this thing is the propaganda piece is that we're going to have another Tiananmen Square where the people are going to rise up against the deportation, okay? I don't think that's going to happen.
That's never going to happen.
No.
If you were one of those people living in those cities, would you rise up against the government to keep the illegals?
They won't let them in their house. Why are they going to fight for them? They're not going to do that.
Right.
They're destroying their city. Look at them. They got tents everywhere.
So right, exactly. So what they're doing here, the media is doing, I think, is trying to create this narrative that if Trump comes in, there's going to be a whole rising up of people. It's going to be awful. I don't think so. I think the people are going to be cheering him on.
You know what we should do? We should go to Chicago and do a live feed and just talk to random people and say, are you going to do a Tiananmen Square when Trump comes here to take these people out of your city? Because your stupid mayor said he was going to do that. You yourself said that you were going to come and fight for these people. I guarantee you we won't find one person that's going to say that.
I know.
It's all posture.
I agree with you. That's the propaganda that they're feeding, though.
Yeah.
So if they can keep pushing that narrative that the people are going to rise up and that the people are against deportation.
Still ain't going to stop them going in there with fire hoses and washing you right out.
Washing you out.
Because when you get hit with a 1,000 PSI hose to the face, Yeah, you're going back home with no hair on your head.
Yeah. That'll take
And that's
the-
what's going to happen. If you want to do Tiananmen Square, we'll show you how it works. Because when the trucks show up with the hose and you're all piled up in a little pile, and then those 5 fire hoses shoot you in the face and you go 600-700 feet down the road, I'm pretty sure you're not going to get up and say, yeah, I'm going to do that again.
So their hair pops off too?
Your hair's coming right off with that hose. You ever see the video of the guy get hit with that hose? You didn't see. You gotta watch the video of the guy getting hit with the hose at full blast. He literally cartwheels down the road.
Slip and slide in the middle of the road.
So any stupid idiot that listens to that mayor is a moron because you're gonna get wiped out. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Well, unless they have nothing better to do.
Then you're still gonna get hosed in the face. and
It's
gonna
kind of
hurt.
like, who are all the people that did all the riots back in 2021 or wherever it was and burned all this stuff in all these different cities? Did they have jobs? Like, did they have something to lose?
Oh, the summer of 2020.
Yeah,
they were
something
being
to
paid.
lose.
Black Lives Matter. That
were
was
being
the
paid.
Antifa. That was the big chance for them to push this idea that Black Lives Matter was a good organization. That was.
It's been completely disproven, right?
Oh my God! Well, look at the leaders of it. What's her name? Colors
Yeah, she bought like 5 houses in white
stealing the money,
neighborhoods.
stealing my houses in white.
So she hates white people, but I'm gonna buy a mansion in a white neighborhood
With a wall around it.
with a wall around it. Maybe the walls to keep the white people out. These people are just too much.
They
There's
are.
morons that donated thousands of dollars to that.
Don't forget, I know it doesn't even matter anymore because she has no chance of ever becoming president. But Kamala Harris was
Bailing people out.
well, she was supporting. She was getting people to donate, promoting donations to this organization that was bailing them out. You want to know who's fighting for your gun rights? Gun Owners of America. GOA is the no compromise gun rights group. So I urge you to become a member at gunowners.org. What have they done? Well, GOA secured a preliminary injunction against the ATF pistol brace rule. GOA members submitted a record 85,000 plus comments opposing the ATF's universal registration check rule. They helped enact permitless carry in Nebraska and Florida. GOA secured victories in California, Illinois, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Plus, they won 2 legal victories against the ATF's zero tolerance policy. And GOA fought to overturn Joe Biden's ban on funding hunter education, shooting sports, and archery in schools. So with the constant attacks on our Second Amendment, we often ask ourselves, well, what can I do about it? Well, here's what you can do. You can become a member at gunowners.org and help us save the Second Amendment. All right. So, you guys, I've got something here. What's so funny over there?
Watching guys getting hit by fire hoses. I'm a big fan of the fire hoses.
This is gonna be coming to a
This is
city
what-
near you. You ready?
This is what Anthony said.
That's what you get.
All right, so get that. Can you get that clip over to Danny or something? We'll put it in post. We'll get some good fire hose. All right, the fire hose. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys. We got a couple more things here I want to get to. We can go to Canada here for a little bit. Let's go to Canada.
I like
right?
Canada.
I mean, we're an American show, but I actually met a lot of people in Canada, gun owners and stuff, at some of the big conventions, and they're good people, But their government is even worse than ours. So here's another article from the New York Post. Justin Trudeau dances at the Taylor Swift concert as rioters storm the streets of Canada. Did you guys see these videos?
No.
So Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sparked widespread outrage when he was spotted on video dancing at a Taylor Swift concert in Toronto as destructive riots were breaking out in Montreal. The video posted on X shows the left-wing Canadian Prime Minister cutting a rug and singing along to Leslie Gore's "You Don't Own Me" before the show began Friday night. Trudeau represents a district in Montreal, Canada's second largest city, which is about 330 miles east of Toronto. Montreal has been engulfed in anti-NATO protests for much of the weekend, where demonstrators ignited smoke bombs and weaved through streets of the city waving Palestinian flags. Of course they would. Cars were set on fire. Numerous scuffles broke out with police, including some incidents in which protesters tossed metal items and even small explosive devices at cops, according to the Montreal Gazette. The fiery demonstrations in Trudeau's hometown as he danced the night away at a concert, some even comparing him to Nero, who fiddled while Rome was burned, according to the legend. So first of all, I want to show you the riot. So can we see a picture of what's going on there in Canada? That's because they're left wing. They're not controlled. This isn't going to happen like this in America, I don't think, anymore. Now that we got Trump in office, but this. Oh, because we have to protect their identity for their own safety. This is the insanity that's going on. And then we can switch over to what Trudeau was doing at the time. There he is.
What a scumbag. I mean, he's a scumbag. Yeah,
He should be doing the Trump dance.
he's a dirtbag.
Everybody's doing the Trump dance. Yeah, so there you have it. Go ahead. Take over. I'm done.
Typical tyrant right there. His city's burning. He's always, and then you got this other dirtbag U.S. Taylor Swift there, and then you got him dancing to her. It's like, what?
Well, it's just like
You
come on.
Canadians are stupid.
The Democrats, the stuff is blowing up. And here's another thing that really is driving me crazy. Biden just authorized, about a week ago or so, authorized Ukraine to use American weapons against Russia. Are you freaking kidding me?
He's trying to start World War III.
On his way out,
Yep.
he's trying to start World War III.
But Russia already shot down 5 of them, so he only has 6.
The thing is, it doesn't matter.
Putin knows what's going on.
Right.
And Putin's not falling for the tricks of Biden. He's not.
Because he knows Trump's coming in.
He knows Trump's coming in, and he knows that the war in Ukraine is going to be done. And I think that little weasel in Ukraine needs to be arrested for treason, for stealing all of our money.
Not only that,
Where the hell is all of our money?
'Cause he's
Where
got-
is $800 billion?
Because he's got something on Biden.
Doesn't matter. We should get our money back.
He's embezzling
He
money.
needs- well, that
plus
needs,
the hundreds of thousands of people in his own country who were dead. Like,
Yeah.
why is that not a war crime? Or something?
how
What
is he
that?
not in? How is he not being charged with treason? Because Biden's protecting him for some reason.
It's wacky.
But when Trump gets in, that little weasel needs to be taken care of.
But the problem is Biden, the cause of all the problem, is going to be riding off into the sunset with his crackhead son.
So the weasel needs to be taken care of, though.
Yeah.
Ukrainian president needs to be taken.
Well, that's fine too.
because
I
he needs
just
to return our money that he took. Which, what's he doing with the money?
banking it so he can leave and he can.
That little weasel needs to come here and meet with Trump. He needs to be put in cuffs. And they need a new
Biden's the one though who start.
That'll never happen. We know this, but other people need to be held accountable, and that little weasel needs to be held accountable. While he's hiding, people are dying.
Yeah.
That's not a leader.
But they're doing, and they're also loosening Biden is also loosening the regulations at the border. So now they're letting more people come in. All this right before they've got a month. It's just so crazy that we have a president who is working against our
But
best
it's not
interests.
It's not probably not
It's
even
not
him.
Biden though. It's Obama.
Well, fine.
And he's another one that needs to be held accountable for treason. He shouldn't be anywhere near the White House. He's not president. He shouldn't be calling shots on anything. He's nobody. He's an ex-president.
And they're trying to make it so difficult for Trump. They're trying to make when he comes in, they're trying to make a big mess for him.
We need to stand up to these people. We got to stop letting these scumbags do this to the country. I mean, for real. We got to.
I know.
When are we going to say, listen, this is it?
Well, I think we did.
Yeah, but it's not, because you still have the same dirtbags in office. You got Pelosi. You got Schumer. You still have all the scumbags in office.
Well, let's just hope things will change. I mean,
They're not going to, I mean, unfortunately, they can't do articles of impeachment because they're never going to get the votes for it. But they're still going to do whatever they can. They're just never going to stop.
Screw a lot of stuff up in the next 2 months too.
That's what they're trying to do. And that right there should be treason. You should not be able to do what you're doing. You should not be intentionally trying to start World War III.
I agree.
When you got the DOJ on your side, FBI. And
That's another organization that when Trump comes in, DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, they all need to be dismantled. The people on top need to be dismantled. They all need to be fired, and you need to, it's not the little minions. They're only doing what they're told to do.
Yeah.
It's the scumbags at the top that need to be fired immediately and hire all new, credible people who are going to do the job correctly and not go after their political opponents like these dirtbags have. The whole 4 years we've been waiting to get Biden out of office.
I think Trump should put family members as the head of all those organizations. What do you think?
Why family members?
I don't know, just as a joke and say, here you go.
Just as a ha ha.
Let's see how it goes.
Ha ha.
But yeah, all those top stuff, they need to be dismantled and started over because there's just way too much corruption in it.
Of course, I agree.
And it's been forming for decades and decades.
Well,
and
we've
decades.
had
Since
this
the 20th century.
The dirtbag Democrats have been in office 28 of the 32 years. That right there should tell you what's going on. They're corrupt as hell.
Well, on last week's show, we talked about one of the things Trump wants to do is term limits. The problem is getting people in Congress to vote on their own demise.
Oh, that there is more bull crap in a bag of poop.
What did he just say?
We, the people, should be able to vote for that. Just like we voted for on the back of the ballot.
Right, exactly.
Back of the ballot should be, we, the American people, tell you have term
As a
limits.
proposition or whatever.
How the hell can you imagine being in a job and saying, well, I'm the manager and I don't think I can ever be fired, so I'm not going to vote for it.
Right, of course not.
That's corrupt as hell.
Of course not. I wonder.
Government.
But you know what? The Trump administration they understand that. So I wonder what their strategy is to get something like that passed. There's got to be a different strategy. You can't just ask people to vote for to lose
end
their
their
job,
jobs.
right, and their career. So there's got to be he's got to have some other leverage. Trump doesn't do anything unless
Take
he's
the
got
policy
leverage.
out. Just
Well, you still got to get him to vote to take it out. If it's part of the policy, right? If it's a law or if it's part of the way Congress operates.
It would have to be an amendment almost. Right?
Yeah, I would think something like that.
We should just have it so that Republicans can stay as long as they want and Democrats get 2 years. That's it.
Right. Boy, they would love that. But
It's-
they would do that. Democrats would do that if they could.
You
it's-
think?
Our political is so corrupt. It's
That's terrible.
we shouldn't have Pelosi's and Schumer's in office like
Oh, those two
there
gotta
should
go.
be no 50, 60-year people.
Those two, especially Pelosi and Schumer. What a couple of dirtbags.
We love Schumer, right?
Schumer's a disgrace to Jewish people.
He's got no morals at all.
He's a pathetic Jew because he is. He does
He's a
not.
disgrace to his
all that
religion.
anti-Semitism that went out, he didn't give a damn about it.
No.
He didn't care. They're his own people. He doesn't care. He's like, I support Gaza. Don't
Well,
worry
he's
about it."
probably betting on the same stocks that Pelosi's betting on, and they're just banking as much money as they possibly can, ride off into the sun. I used that term a few times today, ride off into the sunset. But that's what they're going to do.
That's what they all do. Don't you do it?
No, I am getting a little more involved in Bitcoin though. I don't know if you guys are.
Should have years ago.
Yeah, I know. But my Nvidia is doing really well.
Nvidia's doing good. Yeah, I agree.
Bitcoin though is good. So I got some Bitcoin now, and
But 100 grand in Bitcoin?
listen, I don't know.
I think a friend of mine put 100 grand in Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
And then sold it when it dropped years ago and lost all
Oh,
kinds of
God.
money. Now he's going, oh my God, I could not even have a job right now.
Oh my God, that's a lot. Anyway, all right. On that note, I think we are out. Thanks, guys. Good show. And we will see you next week. Thanks so much for watching The Loaded Mic on all our networks. You can catch us on Rumble and YouTube for now. I don't know how long it'll last on YouTube, but for now, you can catch us on YouTube. And our podcast, you can catch the Loaded Mike podcast on just about any podcast platform out there. You can also check us out at loadedmike.com, loadedmike.com. And my name is Dan Wass. Don't forget, the Second Amendment is not a privilege, it's your right.